Hi, welcome to my channel, and this video is my 10 favorite DIYs from last year. I'm using 2 packs of tower blocks for this DIY and some Dollar Tree super glue wood glue. You can use whichever glue that you like. I made 10 of these squares, so 5 are going around in one direction and then the other 5 are going in the other directions, as you've seen on the 2 that I just showed you there. So I am just gluing 8 blocks together, and then I'm gluing the geometric bead in the middle, and sometimes they don't fit or you have to turn them around because they're not all made the same, just like the tower blocks, or just get a new bead. And then I'm gluing a tower block on each of the inside tower blocks on the bottom there, and then now I'm doing the same thing but the opposite way around. Later on in the video you'll see what this would look like if you do all of them in the same direction, and you can make your frame, because it's going to be a frame, whichever size you like. I just wanted to do this size and make a square. So here are my 12 pieces, and then you have to place them alternatively so that you can see that the tower blocks join up on each square. And then I'm just going to glue them together. And always remember to wipe away any excess glue with a wet paper towel. And sometimes, because the blocks are not all the same size, you might have to switch the squares around to make sure that the sides of the squares are going to be touching enough to make sure it will all glue together, if that makes sense. Also, you can reinforce it on the back with some popsicle sticks. Later on I used staples because I made a big project, but you could also use popsicle sticks on that. And then I stained it with the early American wood stain. Here are some pieces of foam board, and they are 8.5 inches each. I placed one piece on the back where I want it to go, and then I traced around the hole with a pencil, and now I am just marking it off, and then I mark it a wee bit, tiny bit wider than what the hole is, and then I'm just using an X-Acto knife to cut it out. And I don't cut it out as a square because I need one side open when I attach this to the back. This is going to look like this. And then I'm going to glue these 2 pieces together. I was rubbing off my pencil mark to see how wide it was. And then I just glued them together with hot glue after I took these wee edge bits off. I was just checking it there. And then I'm just going to paint the bits that you will see black. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I thought it would be better. I'm just using black acrylic paint, nothing special. So now I'm going to hot glue it to the back. And I actually didn't glue it properly. I glued it too far down, so the bottom piece wasn't like almost flush with the top of the tower box. And you'll see when I put my picture in that it drops down too much. So just be aware of that when you do it. And I'm just going to add a sawtooth hanger. And I have this Alchemy scrapbook paper pad, and I will link it down below. I got it from Amazon. I picked the pages that I want to use, and then I trim them down, well, measure that one and then trim it down with a paper cutter. And then this picture of the sun, I just cut that out and then I trimmed it down with a paper cutter so that it would be nice straight edge choosing which part of the paper I want to use just by putting the sun on it and then looking to see, because all over that paper looks different, so I'm just picking which bit that I like the best. And then I measured the gap in the back of the frame, and then I made it just a tiny bit smaller than that. And you could put a photo in here if you have a photo that size, or I made this without thinking what am I going to put in it. So I had to hunt through all my stuff to decide on something, but I really love how this turned out. I'm glad I didn't glue the sun on before I put this in, since I glued it the bottom too far down. So I just used a glue stick to glue it in place, and then I glued the sun on because I wanted the sun to be right in the middle. And this is how it turned out, and I really love this one. DIY, you need 56 blocks, so you just need one tower block pack and then some wood glue. And I'm making 4 sets of 3 tower blocks glued end to end. And then I make 8 sets of 4 tower blocks. And then I made 4 U-shapes and I glued them on the outside of the tower blocks on the bottom. And then I got another 7-inch wood round, and I'm just going to glue it exact same as I did all the other DIYs. To show you how it would look if I made it on a much bigger scale, you can of course use an even wider wood round if you wanted to. You could double up the blocks if you wanted to make it stronger. This into a plant stand, but I don't know if you doubled up the blocks, maybe you could make a wee side table, make it much taller. Or if you use a bigger wood round, you can make a wee side table. Also make this into a lantern, although if you get a battery operated candles, you could probably still change the batteries in it with it stuck inside. You could definitely switch it on and off. You could put some florals in here or some greenery. You could put a smaller wood round in it and then put an ornament inside or something if you wanted to. So here I have 4 sets of 3 tower blocks, and I see my mistake. I was gonna glue it on the very top there. So this time I'm turning it upside down. Oh no, I'm showing you here because it was easier. So I'm just gluing them and doing it from the tallest to the shortest this time because I'm doing it upside down. And there you go. I'm quickly showing you each time. Remember, this is 4 times the speed. 2, you could make more of the U-shapes and fill in the gaps a wee bit. I'm not sure how that would look. I was going to try it, but this was my last 6 boxes of tower blocks. I have ordered 2 more cases, so I'm hoping they come next week because I still have tower block ideas. I don't know where they come from, but I still have plenty. So I'm just going to glue the bottom on now. Actually, that's the top. And I'm just cleaning up any glue. So here I am just going to glue on some beads just over each of those joins. You don't have to do this. You could put beads all the way down, or you could just put one bead on. It's up to you. You could even put different sizes of beads on and see what that looks like. So as usual, I didn't wait for the top to dry. I just got on with putting on the beads. But definitely make sure all your stuff dries properly before you move on to the next step. See, it's coming off there. It's because I'm impatient and I didn't wait. I just wanted to get finished for the video. So I thought I would just strengthen it up a wee bit. And I'm going to show you where I place these. These are underneath the lid. Well, not the lid, the top. Because you would see them on the bottom. You see where I placed them. And it just gives a wee bit extra support. You're not going to put nothing heavy on this anyway. And then I stained it with early American wood stain. And this is how it turned out. I love how it turned out. I'm using some Dollar Tree Super Glue wood glue, but you can use hot glue if you want to. And I have 4 of these drawers, and I'm just going to glue them together. And I did work out how they would look the best, so that, because you know they're not all the same size, so that they wouldn't be like bits sticking out the side, like the corners sticking out the side, and the top would be flat. I also wanted them to be flush at the front, but they're not at the back. I took the drawers out, and then I'm going to give it a wash with some plaster chalk paint and some water. And I just did the outside and the fronts of the frame, and then I did the sides and the inside of the boxes. You can stain this or paint this any colours that you like. If you don't like this whitewash, then just choose what you do like and change it and make it your own. So I'm just doing the front. Didn't do inside. You can do inside if you want to, but I don't see the point. And then I just dried it off with my heat gun. I will link that down below as well. It's handy for drying paint. And then here I did the sides, but I also did the inside as well, but I didn't show it. And I'm going to use this wallpaper again. Now I did this already with the leftover wallpaper from the last DIY, but I messed it up because the drawers are all different sizes, so you have to make sure you put the right one back in the right box. So I numbered them, and then I drew around them, and I numbered which piece of wallpaper is going to go on which drawer. And then I'm just cutting it out with some scissors. So off camera I wrote the numbers of the drawers on the drawers and then on the wallpaper. And if there's any excess hanging off the sides, you can just trim it down with your scissors. And then I just made sure it was all pressed down. And see, I put that in the wrong I put it in the wrong space. So you just repeat this with all the drawers. I also wanted the pattern on the drawers to match up like it does on the wallpaper. You see there, like it carries on from one drawer to the next drawer. And then the pattern will carry on the drawers above. I know lots of people have made these drawers before, but I wanted to show you that you can use the wood slice pieces for it. And also it looks so pretty with this wallpaper. So just finishing up the last drawer. And now I'm using these wood slices for wee handles, and I'm just using hot glue to stick them down. And now I have 2 of the long wood slices, and I'm just hot gluing 1 to each side of this, and this is the feet. And this is how it turned out, and I think it turned out so cute. For this DIY you need 83 tower blocks, and I'm going to start by making a rectangle. So I have 2 blocks along the bottom and 1 either side, and they're standing on their side. And then I have some geometric beads, and the corners are with the hole facing up, and the others, the holes are all facing in the same direction. And then I'm just gluing them all together. I only had a few geometric beads left. I've ordered some more because I just love how things look with them, and I still have loads more ideas for them. If you wanted to, you could use the round beads for this, or the half beads. I'm just taking a paintbrush to get rid of any of the excess glue in between. And now I'm going to frame it with some more tower blocks, 3 along the top and the bottom and 2 at the side. If you wanted to, you could do this for the sides of the box as well. Obviously the 2 ends would have to be smaller, but I didn't have enough of the geometric beads to make all the sides like this. And now I am just gluing a wee half bead on top of each of those holes. You don't have to do this either, you could just put the holes on the inside. So for the side of this, I have 2 tower blocks I'm gluing together in that direction, and then I'm gluing together 6 on the other direction. That one was too skinny. And then another 6 straight onto those, and then another 2 at the end. If you wanted to see the geometric beads on the other side of this box, then I would just make enough tower blocks to just cover that wee window on the other side, but I wanted to cover up the whole thing, because this is what's going to keep the lid in place as well. And then I am going to glue on 3 of these wee trees. You can use any of the wooden shapes for this, or you could put a wee picture in there, or like a wee wooden snowflake or something, just whatever season you make it for, or you could put someone's name in there. So I'm making 2 sets of 9 tower blocks, and they're all laying flat, and this is going to be the sides at the back and the front. And then this is 2 sets of 6 tower blocks, and that's for the sides. And this is the base of the box. You need 21 blocks, and they are going to be 3 blocks across and 7 blocks high, and they're laying flat as well. And like I said, I just kept the sides simple. You could do the blocks facing the other way if you wanted to have them all going straight across. And when I get more beads, I will make another version of it with them on the sides and stuff as well. But I stained it in the golden oak as well. And here I am just gluing all the pieces together. And now if I make it again, I am going to do this part first. And then I will do the lid, the back of the lid. I will make sure that it fits in better than this, because at one side it kind of sticks out a couple millimeters. So that's what I'll do different next time. So I decided I wanted to use these wee blocks from Dollar Tree in the corners, and I should have done that before I painted it. Stained it, sorry. And yeah, I'm just gluing one in each corner, and then I'm going to stain it, and then I'm going to show you what it looks like. So this is it with the box closed. You can always add some ribbon or something to the sides if you want to, but I love how this turned out. I'm going to make one with some wee mushrooms on it, and I'll do the sides as well. I'll show you that to you guys soon. And then I'm going to show you the inside of the box at the end of this clip. There you go. And it fits nicely, the lid fits nice in it. And I glue together 10 blocks, 5 on each side. And then I make a rectangle, and it is 5 blocks high, and then 2 blocks across, and then another 5 blocks on the other side to make a rectangle. So I already laid out the beads, and each corner has a bead facing up the way, and all the others are facing towards each other on the inside. If you wanted it to, you could do the beads all facing the same way and not facing up in the corners, because you won't really notice. But I like to put the wee beads on it. So I'm just going to glue these all the way around, and just be careful you don't put too much glue, because you don't want it to seep out. And you can always wipe it away with a wet paper towel, or sometimes I use a wee paintbrush to get rid of the glue in between the beads. If you're painting it, it doesn't matter so much, but if you want to stain it, then you have to get rid of the glue, or it will, well, the stain doesn't take to the glue. And you see there I made another mistake. I put that one at the corner facing the wrong way. But I do fix it when I realise. I realise because I have to put the wee beads on here. I just think they finish off the project nice. And then I'm going round the outside with some tower blocks. And I do have to cut a couple down. So I just take a pencil and mark off where I need to cut, and then I get my miter shears and I cut it down. Sometimes they're easy to cut and sometimes they're not. And then I just glue all these in place. You could make this bigger if you wanted to, or you can make it wider, you can make it into a square. It'd be nice if it was a mirror or a picture frame. I'm just wiping away all the excess glue, and then I'm going to stick the wee shelf on. I decided that that wasn't going to be strong enough, so I'm just adding 2 more tower blocks right underneath that shelf. Then I painted it with some folk art nautical coloured chalk paint. I'm just slapping it on. And you've got to make sure you get in all the wee nooks and crannies. Remember, if you don't like this colour, you can make it a different colour. And I'm going to take some sandpaper again and then sand down the beads. And I make sure I sand every edge of those beads. Because when you're they're all different sizes, so when you're just sanding on the top, sometimes you miss the edges. So I just go around and make sure I do every single one of those. Then I just wiped it off with a wet paper towel. And then I attached a sawtooth hanger to the back. And this one actually was from Dollar Tree, and it's smaller than the other ones I use in the video. You've got to make sure that the screws aren't going to go all the way through your tower blocks or split them. And this is what it looks like with a candle in it. You could put some paper on, like scrapbook paper on the other side in the middle, or you could fill it up with the tower blocks. You don't have to keep it open. And this is what it looks like if you put a plant on it. Obviously you'd get a better looking pot than this. I just thought I would shove it on and see what it looked like. This wood round is from Dollar Tree, so I'm just going to take off the hanger and the label. I'm going to put the hanger away for later because I'm going to reuse it. And then using that same sheet of paper, I'm just covering it with a glue stick. And there's a wee bit cut out at the top, but that doesn't matter because we're going to cover it up. So just making sure it's stuck down, and then I trim it with some scissors. And I absolutely love this shade of green on this paper. I wish that there was at least 2 sheets of each pattern in this paper pad, so I might go back and get, well, I might get another one next time I go to Pop Shelf if they have them, just for another sheet of this paper. So I'm just hot gluing the edges just because some of them weren't stuck down properly. And then I'm poking a hole through where the hanger is to go. And then this is the burlap ribbon from Dollar Tree, and I'm just hot gluing it around the edge. This is the scalloped one, so I'm just hot gluing the straighter side and leaving the scallop bit with the holes on it off the edge, and I just hot glue that all the way around, and it almost fit. So you'll need 2 packs of it, and I had a wee bit left over from another DIY, so I just fill in the top part when I get to the end with a wee bit of the leftover one, and it joins up nicely as well. You just need to trim it and then glue it, and you can't even really notice that it was separate pieces. So this wee sign was from Dollar Tree, and I really like the rabbit, so I am just cutting off the extra piece of ribbon on the bow, and then obviously the ribbon on the back, and I'm just going to hot glue that down to the front. I'll just press it down, make sure it sticks, and then I burn all the wee hairs with a lighter. Just be careful doing that part. So I already strung up some beads on the hanger. I just put 5 on each side, and then I picked some of that floral, and I'm just going to hot glue it to the top. And I thought this was pretty as it was, but then I thought I would add some greenery. So I just put a wee bit on and just hot gluing that in place. When you make your DIYs, you can choose which paper you want to use, which florals and greenery you want to use, and what ribbon. You don't have to make it exactly the same as mine, you can make it your own with whichever things that you like better. And that's it. This is how it turned out. I think this is my favourite one of the video. Glue. I'm going to glue together these tower blocks, and it's going to be 7 blocks across and 3 blocks high. And you can make this DIY whatever size you want as well. I just wanted to make a wee one just to show you, give you guys an idea. And I just make sure I wipe off any excess glue, and then I stained it with the golden oak gel stain. And now I just measured the beads out, and you need to measure them because they're not all the same size, and you want to make sure it's going to fit around your frame good. Not your frame, your tower blocks. So I just glued them all together, and I have the holes all facing the one way, up and down, like the holes glued together. That makes sense. So you don't see them. And now I'm just doing the other side. I don't know if you can see, I only have a little tiny screen here when I'm doing the voiceover, but I'm gluing it hole to hole. And then just making sure it's gonna dry in a straight line. And now I'm gonna do the top and the bottom. And if the beads don't fit properly, just swap them out for another bead. So I'm not going to stain these beads, I'm just leaving them like this, but you could stain them all the same colour as the tower blocks, or you could paint them, it's up to you. Later in the video I do make the beads and the tower blocks different colours, just to show you what it would look like. Oh, and I just use a wee paintbrush to get rid of the glue in between the beads. And now I'm just going to glue all the pieces together and then move on to the next step. So I have Instagram, Pinterest, and what's the other one? TikTok. And they're all the name Bonnie Blings as well, so it would be nice if you guys could follow me on those other platforms, because I would like to build up my followers there. So here I'm just measuring the tower blocks around the outside, and then I'm going to glue them together. So I just need 3 on the bottom and then 4 on the sides. And then once I glued them together and waited on them to dry, I stained them with the golden oak gel stain as well. So I'm just gluing all the pieces together now that the stain is dried. I'm just using the wood glue again. And you can of course make the whole thing, well, all the tower block parts and then stain them all at the same time. But I make most of these DIYs up as I'm going along. So I don't know how many tower blocks I'm going to need or what I'm going to do with them. If I'm going to paint them or stain them. Sometimes I do, sometimes I know exactly what I'm going to do with them. So now I have some plaster Waverly chalk paint, and I have this wee moon from Amazon. It's like 2 inches. I will link it down below as well. It was a pack of, I don't know, 30 or something. So I'm just going to hot glue it to the top of this, and then I have these flowers from Dollar Tree. So I am just choosing which ones I want to glue to it. And you could use any flowers for this. You could put some scrapbook paper, or you could put some words inside this. It's up to you. This is just what I wanted to do with it. But whatever you want to do is up to you because you're making it. So I'm just arranging them, and then I'm going to hot glue them down. And I got these flowers a couple years ago actually. So it's about time I used them. Could even stencil something in there or use stickers from Dollar Tree or put a mirror in there. It's up to you. Anyway, I took ages arranging them and now I'm just gluing them down. I keep getting so out of breath doing these voiceovers. I'm just sitting down. Let me know in the comments down below if you would make this one and what you would put inside it. Would you do the same as me or something else? Maybe you can give me some ideas for some other stuff or other DIYs. So I'll just finish this off camera because it's taken a wee while. And then I just strung up some beads and I'm just attaching them to the back of the frame with some hot glue and a popsicle stick. And this is how it turned out, and I think it turned out really pretty. Obviously not going to use the ball, but and some wood glue. And then I'm going to use this scrapbook paper again. And you can see Ethan was playing at the side there. He likes to come in and play with the blocks and stuff. So I'm just going to cut out these 3. And I was going to use these 3 at first, but then I really liked how the key one looked, so I want to keep that for another project by itself. And just trim down all the excess. And then I decided I'm going to swap the key one out and use the owl one. No, the creativity one. I was already using the owl one. So here I have 5 sets of 3 blocks glued end to end, and I'm just making the 6th one. So that's 6 altogether. And then wiping off any excess glue. And this one, I already made one. This is 8 blocks end to end. And you need to make 2 of these. So I've taken my 3 pictures and I laid them out, and then I'm gonna lay the tower blocks around them and in between them so I know where I need to glue them. Just like the first DIY, I am gluing the 2 sides together with one on its side and one of the tower blocks on its back, and then the 2 middle ones are on their back, and the top and the bottom are on their side. I had to change it to this way because you see my mat is not flat and I keep meaning to fix that, but I never get around to it. So I'm just gluing them all together, but I'm not gluing the pictures in. They are just so I know how much space I need. See, they're not glued in. I cut down a piece of foam board to fit, and I'm just going to hot glue it to the back because I need something for my pictures to glue to. So just make sure it's all glued down and pressed down, and then get rid of any excess glue strings. And then I painted the whole thing with some truffle Waverly chalk paint, and here I am just sanding off and distressing it. It's up to you if you want to do this part, but I really like how it looks. If you wanted to, you could just dry brush the paint on if you don't want to sand it off, but it gives 2 different looks, and this is what I want for this one. But the tower blocks looked, the pictures, the scrapbook paper, my god, looked really good with just the plain tower blocks, unfinished ones. But I wanted a dark frame on it, so I chose this truffle colour. And then I'm just wiping off the dust with a wet paper towel. Well, we call it kitchen roll in Scotland, but people don't seem to call it that here. Or they don't know what I'm talking about, but kitchen roll, toilet roll. So I'm just making sure that my pictures are going to fit inside, and then I'm just going to trim down any if I need to. I'll trim down the sides if I need to. And I was seeing if, because sometimes one picture will fit in one place, because the tower blocks are not all the same size, so sometimes one picture will fit in the next section. So always try that. And then just keep trimming it down till it fits. And then I am just hot gluing these in. You can use a glue stick or some other kind of glue if you want to. I wanted to add something to the sides, so I have these wee flowers. They're wooden cutout flowers from Amazon, and I will also link them down below. But it's flowers and some leaves. I don't know if you can hear my dog barking in the background. But he keeps barking. That's the naughty one, Toby, the black one. So I've just glued them down with some wood glue. And now I am just hot gluing an end of some twine, and then I'm just going to put 10 beads on. You can put more beads if you want to. And then I am going to glue it to the back with a popsicle stick. Or we would just call it a lollipop stick back home. And then I have these miter shears. So everybody that uses them on YouTube makes it look so easy to cut the tower blocks and everything with them, but I just must be a weakling because I was struggling to do the craft sticks with it. But if you have normal strength, then you should be fine. But anyway, I'll link them down below. And then I'm just burning off the excess hairs with a lighter, and I love how this turned out. I just love the scrapbook paper. But I know these are all easy tower block DIYs. You can use any paper you want inside them. You could put pictures in it. You could turn it on its side and have it like that. There is 25 tower blocks in this DIY, so you just need one box and some wood glue. I'm gluing together 4 sets of 2 tower blocks glued end to end, and always wiping off the excess glue. Then I made 4 with 3 tower blocks glued end to end. And this is like the first DIY. I am gluing the geometric beads to the tower blocks in the same way. So you just need 6 beads for this part, and they are glued together hole to hole. I tried to find these without the holes, but I haven't found them yet. If anybody finds them without the holes, please let me know. And I just use a paintbrush to get in between those wee bits on the beads. And then I am gluing this on top, just so the edges are touching, just like that. And then I'm doing the same thing with the sets of 3 tower blocks, so you need 9 beads for that. This is a DIY you could make bigger as well if you wanted to. So three beads are like the same length as 1 tower block. And I forgot to say that I always set them out first to make sure that they fit exactly, and then it's not going to be longer than the tower blocks, because these are like the tower blocks, they're not all made the same size. So here are my pieces, and I'm arranging them like this, and I'm just going to glue them all together to make a square. And then I'm going to glue those little beads on the top and the bottom to cover up the holes. So I decided I wanted this to be a standing frame, so I'm just using some hot glue to glue to the back of this so that I can put it at an angle. You can see it like slants backwards, and I'm just putting a bunch of hot glue on and some tower blocks until it's sitting how I like, and then some extra there. And it still wasn't doing what I wanted. So I'm just gluing some extra tower blocks in like this, and then it held perfect. So I have this alchemy scrapbook pad by Stamperia, and I will link it down below. I wanted to use this moon picture, so I just cut it with some scissors, and now I'm just making sure the edges are really straight with this paper cutter. And it isn't it's just a little bit smaller than the inside of the frame, so I'm just measuring it so that I can cut another piece of scrapbook paper to go behind it, and I picked this green. So I'm just measuring that, and then I'm going to cut that down as well. I wanted a green paint to go with the green on the scrapbook paper, but I didn't have one, so I used the next 3 paints to mix up something similar. And it was Spanish Moss chalk paint by Home Decor, Folk Art Home Decor, Folk Art Dutch Aqua. And then I used a wee bit of the Plaster Waverley chalk paint. So I just pour in a wee bit of each, mostly the Dutch Aqua, and then just mixing it up until I get the colour that I want. And I only needed to mix up a wee bit of this because I'm just going to dry brush it over the beads. I don't want to paint the whole thing. If you want to, you can do that. You can make these DIYs any colour you like. You could use a photo for this if you wanted to, or if you had a nice picture, you can even get like pictures from Dollar Tree and stuff and cut them out, or print something off. So now I'm just dry brushing over the beads. I just want to bring out that square detail on the front of them. And I'm just going to hot glue this scrapbook paper on. You can put a stronger backing on it if you want to. So just making sure it fits and then just hot gluing it on. And then I'm going to hot glue the moon as well once I trim it down a wee bit. So I didn't like how this looked because there's only a wee slither of the other scrapbook paper behind it. So I thought that I would cover it up with some of this ribbon from Dollar Tree. And I've used this so many times. It's this one here, it's like the 3-pack of the ribbons. And I'm just going to cut it in half. I already measured it, and then I'm just going to cut it in half and then put that around the outside of the picture. I'm just using hot glue for that. Just make sure you don't burn your fingers. You could use some twine if you wanted, if you don't have this ribbon. Or just cut out a picture that fits. But I really wanted to use this moons. I forgot to say, I burnt all the wee hairs off it before I cut it up and put it in here because I didn't want to take the flame to the paper. But if things are not exactly how you want them, there's always ways that you can fix it. And using this wee ribbon is one that I like to do. And this is how it turned out, and I love this one too. I do love the colour green, and if you've been on my channel you know that I love moons and anything celestial. You're gonna need 286 blocks and some wood glue. So I glued together 12 of these 3 tower blocks end to end, and then 12 of these which are 4 blocks. And this is another project. You could make it wider or skinnier if you wanted to. You could make it taller. And this is 8 of 6 blocks glued end to end. But I ended up adding another 2 blocks on each end of these later on because it wasn't tall enough for my shelves. So you need 8 by 8 blocks. And here I am just doing the same thing as I did before. I'm gluing the geometric beads in the same way. So for the sets of 3, you need 9 beads each. And I did use 222 beads for this. So if you buy a bag of beads, you get 300 in it, and that's enough to make all 3 of these projects. And this one will take you a bit longer, but it's worth it in the end. So this is the 4 blocks, and you need 12 beads for each of these. So there'll be 6 of these. There's 6 of the ones with the 3 blocks in them, and then there's 4 of the ones with the, it's going to be 8 blocks by the end of it. So here, and you need, well here there's 18 beads in each of these, but when you make it bigger you're going to need 24 beads in each. And it's just the same style as the other pieces. And just make sure that you clean off any glue that is in between the beads, because when you stain it, you don't want any of that to show up, although sometimes you'll get a wee bit, can't help it. And make sure you let all your pieces dry properly before you go on to the next step. Sometimes I don't because I'm filming, but just make sure that you do. So I'm making shelves, and these are 9 blocks by 4 blocks, and I made 3 of them. Again, if you wanted, you could make them 3 by 9 or 3 by 6, or you could make more shelves if you want to. So since I am making this as I go along, I'll show you how I messed it up and what you should do to fix it. Because sometimes I don't know until I make things how it is in my head. It doesn't quite work out, and you have to make it to figure out what would be better. Here I'm making 6 sets of 2 tower blocks joined end to end, and these are going to go in the middle of the set of 3 tower blocks long. And then I'm gluing 6 sets of 3 tower blocks together, and these are going to go in the middle of the 4 tower blocks long. You see in that space in between the tower blocks. You could glue this bit on earlier if you wanted to, but since I'm making this as I go along, I realised I needed it when I was going to put the shelves together. So I'm just gluing them together like this. And you need to leave the corners like this because that's where your legs are going to go. I'm just gluing the base now, and I'm just gluing all the corners, and then I'm going to stand up the long parts, one in each corner. And then this is when I realised that it was going to be not enough space between each shelf, so I had to make some more pieces to add on to the top. And these pieces are just 2 tower blocks long, so earlier on, instead of making them 6 along, you make them 8 tower blocks long. 8 tower blocks long. So I just glued them on top. Sometimes you have to make the stuff to see what you're going to need and how it's going to work out. And now I'm just gluing the middle shelf on. And I'm lining it up with the geometric bead you see there. So make sure it's lined up with them on all sides. And then I'm gluing the other shelf right at the top. If you wanted to, you could do an extra tower block and put it on the bottom with the beads so it looks like legs. I mean feet. It looks like feet at the bottom. I just thought of that just now, you could do that. So I had to cut down a couple of pieces of tower block for each shelf. Well, 4 for each corner, just to join it all together and make it stronger. If you have those wee cube squares from Dollar Tree, you could use them. So I did one of those in each corner, and now I am gluing on some half beads for feet. And then on the top I'm gluing on the 10mm beads to cover up those wee holes. Then I stained it with some early American wood stain, and this is how it turned out, and I love it. I don't know where I'm going to put it, but I will find somewhere. Some projects are just worth spending the extra time to make, and then you can turn out with something really beautiful.